We have created really short videos to capture the main points of a book entitled Learning the Brainstem. The voice you hear is AI generated. LTB9 mainly addresses the relationship between pons and cerebellum, but we will also inspect the pontine tegmentum, where we will encounter tracts that we have seen before and two cranial nerve nuclei that we have not seen as yet. In our very first video, LTB1, we showed this MR image of high or rostral pons. Now we draw attention to cerebellum dorsal to pons. I place a red rectangle on what cerebellum we visualize in this axial cut. And at a lower level of pons, the red oval now encircles cerebellum and a part of the middle cerebellar peduncle on either side. I indicate the right middle cerebellar peduncle with a yellow arrow, but we will need photomicrographs to drill into greater detail. What happens between the two levels depicted in this slide? The image to the left is higher or more rostral than the image to the right. I place red dots on the right superior cerebellar peduncle in both images. In the right image, notice that the superior cerebellar peduncles seem to merge with other darkness that represents the middle cerebellar peduncles. For clarity, I place a yellow dot on the right middle cerebellar peduncle. Questions for you. First, where have the fibers in the right superior cerebellar peduncle come from? Second, where have the fibers of the right middle, not the superior cerebellar peduncle, come from? To help you a bit, I provide an axial section between the two that we examined in the preceding two slides. I edited out the cerebellum in the middle image and enlarged it a bit. Now I enlarge the section even further. The yellow dot sits in the right middle cerebellar peduncle, and the red dot sits in the right superior cerebellar peduncle. Fibers in the right superior cerebellar peduncle arise from deep cerebellar nuclei in the right cerebellum. In LTB4, we divided the midbrain cerebral peduncle, the left one in this slide, roughly into thirds, as indicated by 3 blue dots. Medially, there is a frontopontine tract, frontal lobe to pontine nuclei. The central third contains corticospinal fibers, cortex mainly to spinal cord but also to pontine nuclei. A lateral third contains a temporopontine tract, temporal lobe to pontine nuclei. There are parietal pontine and occipital pontine tracts as well, but we do not indicate them. The take-home message is simple. Corticopontine fibers synapse at pontine nuclei in the ipsilateral basis, pontis. Throughout the basis pontis, grey matter includes various pontine nuclei. The left half of the basis pontis is boxed in blue here. After synapsing at pontine nuclei, fibers will cross the pons, heading to right middle cerebellar peduncle. Again, I indicate the right middle cerebellar peduncle with a yellow dot. What are these pontine nuclei and what role do they serve? They are involved in a transfer of action potentials across the midline to contralateral cerebellum, but the anatomy suggests something perhaps more sophisticated. Fibers arising from right cerebellum will pass through the superior cerebellar peduncle, marked by the red dot. The fibers ascend and will eventually cross the midline, heading to contralateral red nucleus and thalamus, thence to cortex. A pontine nucleus in grey matter of the pons is a turning point in a circuit, or what might be considered a control loop, that passes from ipsilateral cortex to contralateral cerebellum. Then the circuit closes with a projection from contralateral cerebellum, eventually back to ipsilateral cortex. Let's trace the circuitous path with the help of sagittal, axial, and coronal sections. First, a coronal view. Fibers from left cortex descend to left pons. After synapsing at pontine nuclei, fibers will cross the midline, heading to the contralateral middle cerebellar peduncle, thence to contralateral cerebellum. We have seen this axial section before. I show how postsynaptic fibers head to right middle cerebellar peduncle. Call this the right brainstem and right cerebellum, now in sagittal section. Fibers arising from right cerebellum will project through ipsilateral superior cerebellar peduncle. Then, at the level of the decussation of the superior cerebellar peduncles, fibers cross the midline, heading eventually to left cortex. Before we leave LTB9, let's inspect the pontine tegmentum. We will use a flashcard method. The red arrow passes through fourth ventricle and points to the medial longitudinal fasciculus. The red arrow points to the tectospinal tract, which is very close to the medial longitudinal fasciculus. Note that fibers in this right tectospinal tract have arisen from the contralateral or left superior colliculus and will pass mainly to cervical cord. Its significance has to do with reflexive head turn to visual stimuli. The red arrow points to right medial lemniscus. The red arrow points to white matter lateral to the medial lemniscus, where ascending fibers of the spinal thalamic tract pass. But keep in mind that white matter lateral to the medial lemniscus also includes other ascending and descending tracts, including the lateral lemniscus, which ascends, and the rubrospinal tract, which descends. The red rectangle surrounds at least 2 nuclei that we have not encountered previously. I say at least because the lateral pontine tegmentum at this level is also where one can find the most rostral extent of vestibular nuclei. For simplicity, let's identify a medial nucleus, indicated by the yellow arrow, and a lateral nucleus, indicated by the orange arrow. The medial nucleus is the motor nucleus of trigeminal nerve, or CN5. The lateral nucleus is the sensory nucleus of trigeminal nerve, or again, CN5. In LTB10, we will encounter the trigeminal system again, and we will visualize more CN or cranial nerve nuclei. As always, thanks for watching.